Hello everybody and welcome back. The series of videos that we're going to be talking about today is all focused on topic 11, cause and effects of 20th century war. This playlist is specifically going to be focused on case study 1, the first unit we're going to be going over, which is the First World War. Now, the theme of this topic is to really dig in and discuss the differences on how war was started and the lasting after effects. And what's really interesting is a lot of the wars that we're going to be talking about and the different causes and effects are very long, very wide. In the First World War, for instance, some of these causes are going to come from the 1800s, and some of the effects are going to be held until today. The war is a very interesting, lasting conflict that is often forgotten in the more modern senses of understanding what is happening today in terms of lasting effects of conflicts. And I hope that by the end of this unit, you have a newfound appreciation for the First World War, and that you understand just how, when we think of war and when we think of historical events, what can lead to them can be so far remote, and what their effects are, what ends up happening, can last until thousands of years, as we will see in history. Now, in order to understand the causes of war and what IB demands of us to know, are these two bullet points here. They're short, they're simple, they're sweet, but they are very complex and very detailed, especially when it comes to the First World War. So, the two topics are economic, ideological, political, territorial, short and long-term causes. So when we're analyzing the causes, they need to fit in essentially two categories. They need to fit either as one of these in the top and one of these in the bottom. So as we're going to be discussing, and as you're going to be seeing in the examples we're going to be discussing, you're going to see ST or LT on the different topics. So the videos the causes of these videos are going to be economic, ideological, political, and territorial. This is going to be the subject at which we will be analyzing causes of war. Each of these videos will have short-term causes and long-term causes that will be denoted within each of the examples. So for instance, the first video we're going to watch after this one deals with economics. And so how was economics a factor in causing war? Was it the want to gain more areas, more markets, to grow your empire economically that led to the war? Or was it that there are threats to your colonies, threats to your markets that impacts your economy and your economic dominance of the world? So, as we're going to talk about in the next video, it's going to be about the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 and 1871, which is a long-term cause. So you're going to see Franco-Prussian War, and then it'll say long-term cause. And it's something you really need to be aware of and really need to draw a point towards when understanding and analyzing the following videos. Now, ideological causes. Ideological causes all have to deal with the philosophy and the drive on countries wanting to go to war. And for World War I, this makes it really interesting because, as you're going to hear, World War I is the first major conflict where ideology became a bigger deal. It wasn't just political like we see in the United States Civil War. It wasn't necessarily territorial as we've seen in the Boer War and other wars prior. But in World War I, a lot of what we call as nationalism really comes to the forefront of the mind and really comes to the forefront of motivation as to why war is fought. Political, this has to deal with the political power or the just overall power a country or empire holds over the world, and how that political power can be threatened or be trying and taken by certain countries. And the last one is territorial. All of this has to do with land. And as you're going to notice, that as a country grows or attempts to grow, they are going to be taking land from somebody else. Because in the 1900s, a lot of the empires were eventually settled at the very beginning. So it wasn't until after World War I, and you will see in World War II, that all of this changes. And it changes because of these wars. So you're going to notice that there's a theme, and that multiple examples will count for most of these topics. So although we're going to be going over several examples, a lot of these examples are going to double dip. They're going to count for multiple things. I mean, when you really sit back and think about it, that's just logical, right? Ideological, also impacts politics, and politics impacts ideological. Territorial impacts economic. The more land you have, the more money you can make. You want a stronger economy, try to get more land and colonies. So we're going to see an overarching theme of these causes building up and adding on to each other. So let us start our unit.